I'm Carrie Bandi, and this is Bryce. He was born totally normal. He was happy. He was healthy. And this was his newborn picture. So these were taken the day he came home, 3 days old. And he was very alert, very aware.
How premature was he?
5 weeks.
Wow, 5 weeks.
And he didn't have a NICU stay. He was our only child that did not have a NICU stay, which was shocking because he was the smallest, earliest. So he got his first round of shots at 2 months old. And that round of shots changed him right away. He went from a normal baby. He was our third, so we knew what normal meant. You know, babies are fussy sometimes, but he started screaming 23 hours a day. He had just been hospitalized for RSV. And when we went in, I said, I don't feel comfortable with him being vaccinated because he's just been so sick. I think that we need to wait. And the pediatrician looked at Bryce and I and said, if you don't vaccinate your son, who was born at 35 weeks and is a premature baby, you're signing his death certificate for this whooping cough.
So let's get this clear. The pediatrician said if you don't vaccinate your child...
You're essentially signing his death certificate.
Yeah.
Which was very ironic.
Are you both there?
Yeah. Because I didn't want to do it, and Bryce was like, we have to do this to keep him safe. I mean, the doctor knew who to target of the two of us.
Because the moms always question everything first, and the dads just kind of go with what everybody else is doing. So
I mean, I was more like you. I just went with the medical.
Right.
I just can't get over that. So they cannot get over the pediatrician coming out with that line. If you don't vaccinate him, you'll be signing his death certificate.
Right.
That's tragic. Okay, so then what happened?
So he got vaccinated. This was March 1st. And the next few days, he was really calm, which was weird because he'd been screaming for 2 straight months.
They won't make eye contact.
And we have
look
videos
at you.
of
We
that.
don't respond to you.
He just kind of looked at the ceiling, and anytime you tried to get in his way, he would just look around you.
So, the 2 days of that.
Yeah.
And then
It was 3. It was March 4th. He actually had the best day that he'd had in 2 months. He was smiling. He met my mom's best friend that morning. And we have pictures that day of him sitting quietly with Ella, who was 6 at the time, and just learning to reading books. And that's the last picture I have, because we went up to a room, and I walked up to kiss him goodnight. It was 12:06 in the morning, and I bent over. It was dark in our room, and we just had a nightlight. And I kissed his cheek, and it was like an ice cube. And I just started screaming to Bryce, he's dead. He's dead. And everything that I know how to do CPR. I'm certified in this. I just stepped back and screamed. And Bryce walked in and just grabbed him and ran. And I'm like, where are you going? As I'm chasing him down the stairs, and he's like, I'm taking him to the doctor at midnight. And he was gone in his Camaro, no car seat, nothing, just had a Meyson on his lap.
So I grabbed him, I get in the car, and I'm trying to do CPR while I'm driving, and it's raining. And I just pulled to the emergency room, and Brandon said that he's dead. And they started working on him, and it was probably about an hour before we got somebody to carry so she could leave our other kids to come to the emergency room to be with me. And there was nothing since they did epinephrine, they gave him all these shots, and his body was just swelling from all the medicine they were trying to give him to get him going again. It was the first time that this hospital had ever had to deal with anything like this. And we had to tell them to stop because he was gone. And they didn't want to stop because they had never experienced that before as a hospital. So Carrie had to be the parents, like he's called.
When Bryce was at the hospital and I got there, I did not arrive to my husband. I arrived to a man that was crumpled up on the ground, sobbing, not talking to me. We were surrounded by police, separating us, questioning us. Would you ever hurt your child? And it's just, I saw Meyson, and I knew he was dead. I knew he wasn't coming back. And I knew every time I looked at him again that there's nobody in there. That's just his body, and there's nothing there. And right now I need my husband. And so he went home, and he slept, and I woke up and had to tell my 6-year-old why her brother wasn't here anymore. And we slept on the couch, and when she woke up, I just told her that something happened. We didn't know what happened, and Meyson died last night, and he's never going to come back.
Well, then we had to watch our 1-year-old look for him.
Right, because Lucy was 18 months old.
she was looking in the bouncy seat. She didn't understand. She was so little.
And my parents removed the rest of the stuff. Like my dad, who was with the kids when I finally went to the hospital, he moved everything into Mason's room and shut the door. So like the swing, the diapers, everything that was his was no longer there. I didn't want it there. I was like, I don't want to see any of it when I get home. And Lucy was looking for even the swing. She was calling his name. She called him Bubba, trying to say brother. And she's like, Bubba, Bubba, looking everywhere. And you just cannot tell, you know, a baby that's under 2 years old, like, what happened. So she doesn't remember him, but she knows of him because she's heard us talk about him. This isn't like a stillbirth or a miscarriage, which is equally devastating, but like we have a year where Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays, there was a child in these pictures with us that the next year was gone.
There's no words really, is there? I mean,
No, there's not.
I'm sorry.
And it was the week that he died, it was the day of his funeral that someone said, had he just been vaccinated? And I said, fuck you for even asking that. How could you ask that? You're asking me if I did it? If I caused him to die? And it was. And I think that the reason that there isn't as much said about parents that vaccinate and their child dies is we have this stigma and we have all of this guilt, because essentially if we would have known better, this never would have happened and we'd still have a child.
What's your message to parents people that are just thinking about becoming parents? What would you say to them?
You just have to educate yourself, because you can't rely on somebody else to tell you the information, which is that's what we did, because we didn't know any better. And you just have to have an informed choice.
And with Oliver, who is our son that was born 2 years later, he actually got whooping cough at a year old. So the very vaccine that Mason was given that killed him was preventing the disease that our next son had. And they didn't think this child's going to die. And he was fine. And so it was even harder to see that this disease that I had been so scared of, that I didn't listen to my intuition, was not as scary as I'd been led to believe.
Well, and he's still here today.
Right.
Stronger than
right.
ever before.
And he's very healthy.